There's an experiment that changed everything, not just physics, but our entire understanding of reality itself. The double slit experiment. Scientists shoot particles at a barrier with two slits, expecting them to behave like tiny bullets. But something impossible happens. When no one's watching, the particles act like waves, going through both slits simultaneously and creating an interference pattern. The moment you observe which slit they pass through, the wave collapses. They become particles again, going through one slit or the other. Your observation doesn't just witness what's happening, it determines what happens. Now, in physics, observation means any environmental interaction, any measurement device. But in manifestation, we believe something profound, that conscious human observation carries unique creative power. We believe your awareness isn't passive, we believe it actively participates in selecting which version of reality becomes real. This video breaks down the double slit experiment in depth, then gives you 4 practical techniques for what we believe is using this principle to master manifestation. That fourth one? It's the advanced observer state protocol that we believe lets you consciously collapse the exact reality you desire. Here's something that might shift how you see everything. You're not living in a solid, predetermined reality. You're living in a probabilistic universe where your observation plays a role in determining what becomes real. That's not spiritual philosophy. That's what the most famous experiment in quantum physics revealed. And once you understand it, once you feel the implications in your body, your entire relationship with manifestation transforms. The double slit experiment is where physics broke, where the old mechanistic worldview crumbled, where scientists had to face an uncomfortable truth: the observer matters. What you measure changes based on whether you're measuring it. Reality isn't independent of observation. And in manifestation, we believe this opens the door to something extraordinary: the possibility that your conscious awareness actively participates in creating your experience. Let me take you through this experiment step by step, because understanding it intellectually is the first layer, but feeling it, embodying it, recognizing yourself as the observer who shapes reality, that's where transformation happens. Picture this: you're in a laboratory. In front of you is a barrier with 2 narrow slits cut into it. Behind the barrier is a detection screen that records where particles land. You have a device that shoots individual electrons, one at a time, toward the barrier. Simple enough, right? You'd expect each electron to go through one slit or the other, like a tiny bullet, and hit the screen behind it. If you run this thousands of times, you'd expect 2 bands on the screen, one behind each slit. But that's not what happens. When you run the experiment without observing which slit each electron passes through, something impossible occurs. Instead of 2 bands, you get multiple bands, an interference pattern. Stripes of light and dark across the screen. And interference patterns only happen when waves overlap. When the peak of one wave meets the trough of another, they cancel out. That's the dark stripe. When 2 peaks meet, they amplify. That's the bright stripe. So the electrons aren't behaving like particles, they're behaving like waves. But here's what breaks your brain: you're sending 1 electron at a time. There's nothing for it to interfere with. Yet somehow, that single electron creates an interference pattern, as if it went through both slits simultaneously, interfered with itself, and landed on the screen as a probability wave. Now, in physics, this tells us that before measurement, particles exist in superposition, all possible states at once, all possible paths at once. The electron isn't in one place. It's a wave of probabilities spread across space. But here's where the experiment gets truly profound, and this is where manifestation begins to make sense in quantum terms. The moment you set up a detector to observe which slit the electron goes through, everything changes. The interference pattern disappears. Suddenly, you get 2 bands, exactly what you'd expect from particles going through one slit or the other. The electron stops behaving like a wave and starts behaving like a particle. The wave function collapses, and the only thing that changed? Observation. Now let me be absolutely clear about what observation means in physics. because this matters. In quantum mechanics, observation doesn't require a conscious human being. It means any interaction with the environment that records information about the system. A measuring device is an observation, a photon bouncing off the electron is an observation. The universe is constantly observing itself through these environmental interactions. Consciousness isn't necessary for wave function collapse in standard physics. But in manifestation, we believe something deeper is happening. We believe that while environmental interaction causes collapse, conscious human observation is a uniquely powerful form of interaction. We believe that because you have awareness, intention, and choice, your observation carries creative potential beyond simple measurement. We are drawing inspiration from this proven quantum phenomenon to understand what we believe about how consciousness participates in selecting reality. Think about what this experiment reveals. Before observation, infinite possibilities exist simultaneously. The electron could be anywhere, taking any path, existing in any state. Observation collapses that infinity into one definite outcome. And in manifestation, we believe your life works the same way. Before you focus your awareness, infinite versions of your future exist as probability waves in the quantum field. The moment you observe not casually, but with coherent, embodied, intentional awareness, we believe you collapse those possibilities into one definite experience. Most people observe unconsciously. They wake up expecting the same struggles, the same limitations, the same patterns. And in our framework, we believe that unconscious observation keeps collapsing the same probabilities, the same reality, day after day. But when you understand wave-particle duality, when you recognize that reality exists as waves of possibility until observation collapses it into definite form, everything shifts. You stop being a passive witness. In manifestation, we believe you become a conscious observer, deliberately choosing which possibilities to collapse into your lived experience. Let me share something personal here. When I first understood this experiment, really understood it, not just intellectually but in my body, I had what can only be described as an existential opening. I realized I'd been living as if reality was solid, fixed, already determined, as if my job was to accept what is and make peace with limitation. But the double slit experiment revealed that's not how the universe works. At the fundamental level, reality is fluid, probabilistic, responsive to observation. And if that's true for electrons, and electrons make up my body, my environment, everything I experience, then in manifestation, we believe that fluidity extends to my life. I'm not separate from the quantum world. I am the quantum world, temporally organized into the pattern I call me. And just as observation collapses electron wave functions in the lab, in our framework, we believe my observation collapses life possibilities into experience. That realization didn't just change how I think about manifestation, it changed how I move through the world. It gave me permission to observe differently, to expect differently, to participate in creating my reality rather than just accepting what appears. So let's talk about how this translates into practice. In manifestation, we believe wave-particle duality isn't just a physics concept. We believe it's a map for how to create. Technique number 1. Dual state awareness practice. This is about training yourself to hold two perspectives simultaneously, the wave perspective and the particle perspective. Here's how it works. Choose one area of your life that feels stuck. Maybe it's your finances, maybe it's your relationships, maybe it's your health. Right now, you're probably observing it from the particle perspective, seeing it as solid, fixed, already determined. This is how much money I have. This is my relationship status. This is my body. Definite, real, unchangeable. But practice shifting to the wave perspective. Close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and instead of seeing your situation as a fixed particle, imagine it as a wave of probability. In manifestation, we believe that before you observe it as solid, it exists in superposition, all possible states at once. Your finances could be abundant or scarce, expanding or contracting. Your relationships could be fulfilling or empty, deepening or dissolving. Your health could be vibrant or struggling, improving or declining. All of these exist as possibilities in the quantum field, we believe, until your observation collapses one into form. Spend 5 minutes in this wave state. Don't try to collapse anything yet. Just feel the openness, the fluidity, the sense that nothing is as fixed as it appears. In our framework, we believe you're accessing quantum consciousness, the awareness that beneath the surface of solid reality, infinite potential exists. Then, consciously choose which possibility you want to collapse, not from desperation or lack, but from the wave perspective where all options are equally available. Say silently, "From this field of infinite possibility, I choose to observe abundance manifesting. I choose to observe love deepening. I choose to observe health thriving." And then, this is crucial, feel it, embody it. In manifestation, we believe emotional coherence is what makes observation powerful. Your focused awareness combined with coherent emotion, we believe, collapses the wave function toward the reality you've chosen. Practice this daily for 2 weeks. What you're doing, in our framework, is training your nervous system to stop locking into particle reality, the illusion that everything is already determined, and start accessing wave reality, the truth that infinite possibilities exist until you observe one into form. Technique number 2, interference pattern manifestation. This one's based on how waves create interference patterns by interacting with themselves. In the double slit experiment, the electron wave goes through both slits and interferes with itself, creating the pattern on the screen. In manifestation, we believe you can use this principle consciously. Here's the practice. Identify 2 seemingly opposite desires or qualities you want to embody. Maybe it's success and peace, maybe it's ambition and surrender, maybe it's structure and flow. In the particle worldview, these feel contradictory. You think you have to choose one or the other. But in the wave perspective, in our framework, we believe both can exist simultaneously, and their interaction creates something more powerful than either alone an interference pattern of manifestation. Sit in meditation. Enter a coherent state using breath 4 counts in, 4 counts hold, 6 counts out. Do this for 3 minutes, then visualize both desires as waves. See them flowing toward each other, and instead of canceling each other out, watch them create a new pattern. The peaks of success amplify the peaks of peace. The rhythm of ambition enhances the rhythm of surrender. In manifestation, we believe this is how you transcend either-or thinking and access both-and creation. As you hold this visualization, notice what emerges. What does it feel like to have both? What new possibilities appear when you're not limited to one path? In our framework, we believe this interference pattern thinking opens doors that particle thinking keeps closed. Spend 10 minutes in this state once per week. You're training yourself to think in waves, not particles, to see possibilities, not limitations. If this is landing in your body, if something's clicking, hit subscribe and bell icon next to it. Also join our manifestation club on gogetter.au. This isn't just a channel, it's a field experiment in conscious observation. If you're feeling the shift from passive witness to active co-creator, you're already changing what you're collapsing into form. We're not just learning quantum physics. In manifestation, we believe we are embodying it as a lived practice. Let's continue this journey together. Now let me bring in some neuroscience to ground this in your actual biology. Your brain operates on what's called predictive processing. It's constantly generating predictions about what's going to happen next based on past patterns. And here's what's profound. Your brain doesn't experience reality directly. It experiences its prediction of reality, then checks that prediction against incoming sensory data. If the prediction matches, your brain says, yes, this is real, and you experience it as solid, fixed, particle-like. But if you consciously shift your predictions, if you expect something different, your brain starts filtering reality differently. It looks for evidence of the new prediction. And in manifestation, we believe this is observation in action. Your expectation, we believe, is a form of observation that influences which possibilities your brain collapses into conscious experience. This isn't magical thinking. This is your reticular activating system, your brain's filter, responding to what you've told it to look for. So, technique number 3 builds on this quantum expectation protocol. Every morning, before your day solidifies into particle reality, while it's still fluid with possibility, practice this. Spend 5 minutes in a wave state. Feel into the field of infinite potential. Then set one clear expectation for your day. Not a hope, not a wish, an expectation. An observation directed at probability before it collapses. Today I expect to receive unexpected good news. Today I expect a conversation that opens new doors. Today I expect to feel aligned and energized. Write it down, be specific, then spend 3 minutes embodying the feeling of that expectation already fulfilled. In manifestation, we believe you're pre-collapsing the wave function. You're observing a probability before it manifests, and we believe that coherent observation influences which version of your day becomes real. At the end of each day, journal what happened. Did the expectation manifest exactly, partially, in an unexpected way? You're gathering data on what we believe is the relationship between your observation and your experience. Most people who practice this for 30 days report statistically significant correlation. Not 100%, because free will and other quantum systems are involved, but far more than chance would predict. In our framework, we believe that's evidence that conscious observation participates in reality creation. In the comments, drop one expectation you're setting for tomorrow, one specific thing you're choosing to observe into reality. Maybe it's opportunity, maybe it's connection, maybe it's clarity, maybe it's something uniquely yours. In manifestation, we believe this isn't just a comment, it's a quantum declaration, an act of conscious observation that we believe influences probability. Let me share some research that supports what we believe about mind control's reality, not in a magical sense, but in a measurable, documented sense. Dr. Masaru Emoto's water crystal experiments, while controversial scientifically, showed that focused intention seemed to affect the formation of ice crystals. Water exposed to positive words formed more symmetric, beautiful patterns. Water exposed to negative words formed chaotic, fragmented patterns. The methodology has been criticized, but in manifestation, we believe it points to something worth exploring, that consciousness might interact with matter in ways we're only beginning to understand. There's also the PER lab research at Princeton I've mentioned before. Decades of data showing that human intention can influence random number generators with statistical significance. And the Global Consciousness Project, showing that coherent collective focus correlates with decreased randomness in quantum systems worldwide. In physics, these effects are small, but in manifestation, we believe they're suggestive. We believe they hint at what we call quantum mind control, not controlling other people, but consciously participating in selecting which probabilities collapse into your experience. The double slit experiment proves observation matters at the quantum level. This consciousness research, while not conclusive, suggests observation might matter at scales beyond the subatomic. And in our framework, we believe your lived experience is the ultimate laboratory. You're running the experiment every day. The question is, are you observing consciously or unconsciously? In the comments, share one small act you're committing to today, something that anchors you into your identity as a conscious observer. It could be as simple as pause, or notice, or choose. Your word matters. In manifestation, we believe your commitment matters because you matter. Now here's where we go deep. Technique number 4, the Advanced Observer State Protocol. This is the full practice for what we believe is consciously collapsing desired realities using principles from the double slit experiment. 7 stages. Master this, and in our framework, we believe you'll have experiential proof that your observation shapes what becomes real. Stage 1. Enter quantum coherence. Find a quiet space, sit comfortably, use breath to synchronize your system 4 in, 4 hold, 6 out. Continue for 5 minutes minimum. You're not just relaxing. In manifestation, we believe you're preparing your consciousness to operate at the quantum level where observation has maximum influence on probability. Stage 2. Axis wave consciousness. Close your eyes. Instead of feeling yourself as a solid body in a solid world, imagine yourself as a wave of possibility. You are not fixed, you're fluid. All possible versions of you exist simultaneously right now. The you who's abundant and the you who's struggling, the you who's confident and the you who's afraid. In our framework, we believe they're all real as probability waves until your observation collapses one into dominant experience. Spend 3 minutes in this wave state. Feel the fluidity, the openness, the infinite potential. Stage 3. Identify the particle you want to observe. From this wave state, choose one specific reality you want to collapse into form. Be precise. Not, I want to be successful, but I observe myself receiving the contract for this specific project by Friday with full creative control and fair compensation. Write it down. Clarity in observation, we believe, creates clarity in collapse. Stage 4. Become the observer who sees it. This is subtle but crucial. Don't observe from your current identity the particle version of you who doesn't have the thing yet. In manifestation, we believe that would just collapse the wave function back to current reality. Instead, shift your identity. Become the version of you who already lives in that reality. How do they observe the world? What do they notice? What do they expect? Embody that observer for 5 minutes. Feel it in your body. This version of you, we believe, is already in the quantum field as a probability. You're not creating them. You're tuning into them. Stage 5. Collapse the wave function. From this embodied observer state, look at the reality you identified in stage 3. But don't look at it as something separate from you, something you're trying to reach. In our framework, we believe you observe it as already collapsed, as already real, as already your lived experience. Say out loud with full conviction, I observe this reality as real. I collapse this probability into form. In manifestation, I believe this wave function is determined. This is my experience now. Feel the shift. There's often a subtle but distinct sensation when you truly collapse a probability in consciousness. Some people feel it as a click, some as a warmth, some as a deep knowing. Don't force it, but notice it. In manifestation, we believe that's the moment of quantum choice, where your observation selects from infinite possibilities which one becomes your path. Stage 6. Release and trust. Open your eyes slowly. The observation is complete. In our framework, we believe the wave function is collapsed at the quantum level. Now, it needs to organize in physical reality through synchronicities, through opportunities, through aligned actions. Your job isn't to obsess or check compulsively. Your job is to live as the observer who already saw it collapse. Make choices from that state. Move from that identity. Trust that in manifestation, we believe observation has already done its work. Stage 7. Track and adjust. Over the next 7 to 14 days, keep a journal. Note what shifts, what opportunities appear, what synchronicities occur, what changes in your inner state. You're gathering evidence of what we believe is the observer effect in your life. If the exact manifestation appears, celebrate, you've proven it to yourself. If it doesn't, examine your observation. Was it coherent or scattered, embodied or just mental? Did you truly collapse the wave or just think about it? Adjust and practice again. In our framework, we believe this is a skill that strengthens with practice. Let me bring in some ancient wisdom, because what we believe about the double slit experiment and consciousness has been taught by mystics for millennia. The Buddhist Heart Sutra says, form is emptiness, emptiness is form, wave-particle duality expressed in spiritual language. Before observation, form is empty, wave-like, potential. Through observation, emptiness becomes form, particle-like, manifest. The Vedic concept of Maya doesn't mean reality is fake. It means reality is fluid, changeable, responsive to consciousness. What you perceive as solid is actually waves of possibility temporarily collapsed by your observation. The Tao Te Ching teaches that the Tao gives birth to 10,000 things, yet all return to the Tao, the wave state from which all particle states emerge and to which they return. Neville Goddard, decades before quantum physics became popular in spiritual circles, taught, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. In manifestation, we believe that's observer state protocol. You don't observe your current reality and hope for change. You observe from the state of already having what you desire, and we believe that observation collapses the corresponding probability into experience. Make sure you share this video with your friends and family. You could be a blessing in disguise for them. For you, it may be just sharing, but for someone it may mean awakening to their power as a conscious observer of reality. And in our framework, we believe their awakening strengthens the coherence of the collective field we are all navigating together. Here's what I want you to feel in your body right now, not just understand intellectually. You are not a powerless witness to a predetermined reality. In manifestation, we believe the double slit experiment proved that observation matters, that the observer participates in determining what becomes real. And while in physics that means environmental interaction, in our framework we believe conscious human observation is uniquely powerful because it carries intention, emotion, and choice. Every moment, infinite possibilities exist as waves of probability. And through your focused awareness, through your coherent observation, through your embodied expectation, we believe you select which waves collapse into your experience. This isn't about controlling every detail of life. It's about recognizing that you're not separate from reality. You're a conscious participant in its unfolding. The universe isn't happening to you. In manifestation, we believe it's happening through you, as you, with you, as the observer whose awareness shapes the quantum field into form. Now, I mentioned earlier that there's a practice that takes all of this deeper. The quantum field itself, the substrate of reality where all possibilities exist before observation collapses them. There's a complete video on what we believe about accessing that field, navigating it, pulling specific desires from infinite potential into physical reality. That video is already live. You can click and watch it now on the end screen. It's the perfect next layer after understanding what we believe about conscious observation. If this is resonating, if you're feeling the shift from passive to participatory, stay connected, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. This isn't just educational content, it's a practice community. In manifestation, we believe we are learning together how consciousness interacts with reality, how observation shapes experience, how to become deliberate co-creators rather than unconscious reactors. I'm grateful you're here. Here's your challenge. For the next 14 days, run the Advanced Observer State Protocol once per day. Follow all 7 stages. Choose different specific outcomes, or stay with one if it feels aligned. Keep detailed notes. Track what manifests, what shifts, what opens. In our framework, we believe you'll gather personal evidence that conscious observation participates in reality creation. And here's what most people discover. The experiment that proved observation matters at the quantum level, we believe, points to something profound about how we create our lives. When you observe consciously, coherently, embodied in the state of already having what you desire, reality responds. Not always instantly, not always exactly as specified. But in our framework, we believe it responds. You've got the science, you've got the practice, you've got the understanding that in manifestation, we believe wave-particle duality isn't just physics, it's a map for conscious creation. Now prove it to yourself, become the observer, master what we believe is quantum manifestation, and watch as infinite possibility collapses into your chosen reality. In manifestation, we believe this experiment proves your mind participates in controlling reality, not through force, through conscious observation, and now you know how we believe you can use it.